In this video, we are going to talk about SPX6900, some of its recent price action, the crucial support and resistance areas, and where we can expect SPX price to go in the coming days and weeks. We will start by looking at the weekly chart, and the structure for SPX is actually looking pretty decent for a meme coin. I've been covering many meme coins on this channel, and most of them have an absolutely horrible structure. A lot of them are at all-time lows. They have very ugly structures, and they basically are just dumping for the entire year of 2025. But with SPX, it's looking significantly better. We do have a very clear structure and some very clear areas of support and resistance. One of the very obvious support area is this area of about 50 cents, which we are basically at right now. We are slightly above it, you could say, but we are basically exactly there. And also, we have a structure of higher highs. We don't quite have a structure of higher lows, but the lows are pretty flat at the area of about 50 cents, and the highs, as you can see, are significantly higher. We had the first high back when the coin was launched at about 90 cents, then the second one in the mini alt season we've had in late 2024 at about 1.6, and then the most recent high in July of this year at about $2.2. And now, since this most recent high, we have dumped all the way down to 50 cents. This is a dump of over 75%, which is to be expected with such a small market cap and volatile meme coin like SPX, especially when Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market is not performing well. As you know, since the all-time high back in October, Bitcoin has been performing very poorly, dropping about 35% from the peak to the low. And we can very clearly see that since the Bitcoin all-time high, SPX has been dumping a lot. But even since a couple of months before that, since about July, although Bitcoin did go up from July to October, SPX actually created a lower high on the chart. But this is to be expected because Bitcoin is the king of the crypto market, and it is the one that leads the bull market, and it tends to outperform most altcoins, especially ones as fragile as meme coins. So usually when Bitcoin consolidates, altcoins, and especially, as I said, meme coins, are going to struggle a lot and most likely dump. But right now, as I said, we are exactly at this very crucial support area. This is the strongest support area on the entire chart. We have hit this area of support 3 times, with each time leading to a pretty significant rally. And in my opinion, this time is not going to be any different. In the last couple of days, we have seen Bitcoin starting a relief rally. Bitcoin bottomed at about 80k, and it has since then rallied all the way up to about 87k at the moment. And in my opinion, the relief rally will likely continue a lot higher. I think Bitcoin will still likely get back above 100k. Whether this relief rally for Bitcoin will lead to a new all-time high or not is still too far away to really know, but I think we will at least get a lower macro high for Bitcoin that will lead Bitcoin to get to at least 100k. And when that does happen, SPX will likely get a rally following Bitcoin, and this works very well in correlation with the fact that SPX is currently at this very important support area. Now, whether this rally from this support area will lead to a new all-time high is still very uncertain. And if Bitcoin gets a macro lower high and the rally for Bitcoin does not lead to an all-time high, then SPX will likely also not reach a new all-time high. But I think a rally to about this area of about $1.50 is very likely if we do see Bitcoin getting back above 100k. This is probably the strongest resistance area on the chart, although we have crossed it 1 time back in the all-time high in July. This is very clearly the strongest resistance area that we have hit 3 times, very similarly to how we've hit the support area 3 times. So a rally back to this upper part of this range to about $1.50 will be a price rally of about 200%, which will be absolutely amazing. This rally could honestly happen in just a few weeks if Bitcoin does get a significant relief rally, which I think is very likely because of how oversold Bitcoin was for the last few weeks and how quickly and sharply the dump for Bitcoin was from the all-time high. I think a very quick recovery that will surprise a lot of people is very likely, although at the moment I do think that it will likely lead to a lower high, as I said, and that we will not get a new all-time high. That would be my base case at the moment, but it is still completely possible for Bitcoin to actually get a new all-time high. A dump like we've seen in the last few weeks of about 35% is not something that we haven't seen before in the cycle. It actually happened multiple times. It happened pretty recently back in the April low, but I must say that this time does feel a little bit different than the last few dumps. Because of the timing of this dump, we are basically right at the end of when the 4-year cycle should end. So if we do actually get a new all-time high from here, this will likely mean that the 4-year cycle has broken, and it will be the first time for Bitcoin to ever do such a move so late in the cycle. And also, this recent dump in the last few weeks has been much sharper and quicker than the last few dumps in the cycle, and we have lost a lot of momentum going into this dump, with the recent all-time high not being that strong. My base case at the moment is that Bitcoin does continue its rally to above 100k, but most likely not to a new all-time high, and this will likely lead SPX to react to this support area. Of course, it could consolidate at around this area of 50 cents, maybe even possibly get all the way back down to around 40 cents and only then get the rally. But I think that in the long term, in the next few weeks and the months, as long as Bitcoin continues its rally and reaches above 100k again, SPX will likely react to this support area. We've already seen some early signs of a reversal. As you can see, the dump in the last few weeks has stopped and we are actually creating some very small green candles. This shows a loss of momentum to the downside, so this is a good early indicator of a potential reversal, and we will likely see a rally, most likely to around this area of about $1.5. Of course, SPX is a very small market cap meme coin and it is a very risky asset, so if you're planning on buying SPX, I would highly suggest that you only allocate a very small percentage of your portfolio to it. It is very risky, and if we do lose the support area, then there is basically no bottom for SPX, because if we lose the support area, we are basically at a new all-time low and it could basically just go to zero. So be careful with that. Of course, none of what I said in this video is financial advice. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about SPX as well as other meme coins, altcoins, Bitcoin, and the entire crypto market, make sure to subscribe, as I will keep updating you on a bunch of different coins as things unfold in the coming days and weeks. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.